everybody, it's me, your favourite person, and welcome back to this week's episode of House of Medics. This week I have some really cool people with me, a really large panel of 4. This is Doctor's First Day. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
So if you guys just want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, and then we'll go straight into an icebreaker game.
Yeah, sure. My name is Jacob Ogunzemahin. I'm an incoming F1, going to be moving to Brighton, and I have a variety of interests, but yeah, really happy to be here today.
Question, F1 is foundation.
So foundation year 1 doctor is essentially the most babyest doctor you can be. So right from your first day, you start off as an F1.
Nice,
Yeah.
awesome, thank you.
My name is Divina Degby. I'm also a junior doctor like Jacob, starting this August.
So you're an F1 as well?
F1,
okay,
yeah.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm an F2 year doctor, I'm about to finish F2, working in London currently.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Joyce. I'm an F2 like Sarah, and I'm working in London at the moment. Yeah, second year in.
Lovely, awesome. Okay, cool. So let's play our game. I am going to start with you because I knew but I know you don't like icebreakers, so let me start with you. Vacation or staycation?
Vacation, man. Vacation.
Yes, definitely vacation. Netflix or Disney Plus?
Netflix.
Why?
I'm not Disney
not
Plus.
Disney Plus.
Very like Netflix.
Yeah.
Night shift or day shift? So if you guys are F1s, will you have done those differences? Yeah. Okay, you have. Okay, so night shift or day
Day
shift?
shift.
Day shift. Okay.
Day shift.
Rich and famous or rich and unknown?
Rich and unknown.
Why?
Yeah.
Every day.
Why?
Yeah, I like to make my impact in silence.
Okay.
Yes,
Passenger or driver?
driver.
Okay. Owe money or owe a favour?
Oh, money.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Be embarrassed or be afraid?
Ooh, be embarrassed.
I would pick be afraid because you know that saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. You can be afraid, but you can still do something.
Yeah.
Being embarrassed, that one is not
We're
the one.
telling you to be afraid.
Yeah, and then sometimes when you're afraid, you can actually pretend that you're not afraid as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but being embarrassed is not the one. Okay, city or countryside?
City.
Cooking or being cooked for?
Oh, being cooked for,
100%,
definitely.
Always. Roommates or live alone?
Live alone.
Live alone? Why?
I like just coming home to my space, just
Oh.
silence.
Okay.
I think I'm one of those people that like I'm an introvert, so I charge when I get home. Like
Okay.
I kind of just
Fair
charge
enough.
back up. So
Okay, fair enough. Attend a house or attend a party or host a party?
Attend the party.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
The cleaning up after is
Yeah.
very, very long. Lose sleep or skip a meal?
You have to lose sleep. I need that.
Yeah. Hang out with little kids or old folks?
Ooh, little kids.
I would love to choose that one. I think the old folks would be boring. Sorry if there's any old people watching. I think the kids just annoy me. So
Difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult, yeah, but
sweating or shivering?
ooh, sweating.
Why?
really?
I don't do cold. I don't like being
I would
cold.
rather shiver.
I agree.
Really?
Yeah.
Because at least if you
that's
sweat, you
nice.
can just dry off. But if you're shivering, you're literally like
Yeah, but then you sweat and the body odor. No.
not necessarily.
No.
Some of us don't have money.
Sweating is number one. Okay, Jacob. Ambition or comfort?
Ooh, ambition.
Why?
Yeah, I think, there's just something powerful about being driven. So yeah, I'll take ambition any day.
Okay. Sneakers or dress shoes? I think that means heels. Sneakers or heels?
Sneakers, yeah.
And the last one, reality shows or documentaries?
Oh, reality shows.
Yeah, this is
What's your favourite reality show?
Keeping up with Kardashians.
Really?
Yeah, just,
Wait, do they even still
I
stream
think
that?
it's just finished. It's just finished, but
I'm still watching.
Do you watch the same thing as well?
Reality TV is my escape.
yeah.
Sometimes I don't need brains. I watch all the Real Housewives. I watch Keeping Up with the Kids. I watch everything. It's really sometimes you don't need to concentrate on something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Lovely. So let's get into the panel. So again, thank you guys for coming on. We're so happy to have you all here. I actually want to get into you guys' background and your family life. Do you have any siblings? Let's start with Sarah. Tell us a little bit about your background.
My background,
You live in London?
I live in London. I work in London. I started doing my F1 year, so my first year as a doctor was sort of in Surrey on the borders.
Okay.
But now I work in London.
Where did you study before?
I was studied at St George's
Okay.
in London, so I'm really like comfortable just being in London. I live at home with my family in London as well. I've got quite a few siblings. I've got an older brother and 2 younger sisters.
Okay, there's 4 of you.
Yeah.
There's 3 girls, 1 boy. Okay,
Yeah.
Nice. Are you the middle child?
Second child. Yeah. Second child. Yeah.
Because I'm the middle child as well. So we had that middle child connection.
Yeah.
I knew. Okay, awesome. Dr. Joyce, tell us a little bit about your background. You guys can hear her lovely accent, you can guess.
Yes, man. So I'm Nigerian. So basically I lived in Nigeria all my life until A levels. Then I moved over here, then went to med school in Liverpool.
Oh wow. Why
And
Liverpool?
wherever accepted me for medicine. Yeah, I can't really remember applying for Liverpool. I remember just applying for universities. I'm praying for 1 interview and 1 offer for medicine. I feel like that's how it's so different.
Was that the first one that accepted you? You just went for it? Or?
Yeah, I just went for it, yeah.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it. So I did Liverpool for med school, and then I came to London for a year and did the business course at Imperial, which Sarah did as well. And then I've done my foundation 2 years of being a doctor in London. I have a brother and a sister. I'm the first, so I don't have to deal with you middle children. I'm the oldest, and yeah, that's basically me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Dr. Divine.
Myself. So I'm from Newcastle.
Okay. You grew up there?
I'm Nigerian. I grew up there as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You don't have that accent.
Everyone says that, and I honestly can't tell you why.
Were you born there?
I wasn't born there. No.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't tell you why I didn't pick up the accent. But I've lived there since I was like
good anyway.
for
It's good that
a
you-
very young age.
It's good that you did.
Yeah. So my family are in Newcastle, but I came to London for uni.
Okay. Did you want to be away from them? You didn't want to study in
No, I
Newcastle?
think I just wanted something new. I wanted something exciting.
Yeah.
You know, London as an 18-year-old, just
Yeah.
a different experience.
So when you came here, did you get everything that you wanted? Did you think it was going to be this fun or this boring? How have you found it?
I found a community. I settled in really well, I think. I found a church. And yeah, I just kind of threw myself into. I feel like there's just so much to do in London.
Everyone always says that, and I don't get it.
Really?
I think because I'm always here.
Because you've always been here.
Yeah.
You've always, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Newcastle's great as well, but I think there are different things you get from different cities,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was just lots of opportunities and lots of things to get involved in. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Dr. Jacob.
Yeah. So in terms of background, born and raised in London, Nigerian heritage. So born in Southeast London, and I grew up in Southeast London. So that comes with its own experience for anyone who's from Southeast London.
Oh, we won't go into that today.
And then went to Kiel, which is in the Midlands.
Kiel?
Yeah, so it's in between. So it's in Staffordshire, in between Birmingham and Manchester.
Okay.
So that's why I went to med school.
Nice.
But my interest has been in like policy. So I did a year out, did a master's in London. So yeah, that's my background. I have two little brothers and a big sister. Yeah.
Nice. That's lovely.
I don't know if I'm a middle child. I don't know if that counts as
Two big brothers and one
a
little
big sister and two little brothers.
Okay. Yeah.
But you're the oldest girl, right?
I'm the oldest girl.
Yeah. So I feel like you still have this first daughter thing.
Mm.
And you're the-
You kind of are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of. Okay, I'll take that.
You
Middle
kind of
child.
are. Because there's 4 of us as well. I know this isn't about me, guys. Sorry. There's 4 of us as well, but my brother and sister are twins. Anyway, no one cares, man. Anyway, let's talk about how you guys actually got into medicine. Like why medicine? Dr. Sarah. She hates when I call her that, guys. So Dr. Sarah.
It sounds really cliche, but I really like the impact of making a difference in people's lives, caring for people, having that interaction with people.
I don't think that's cliche at all.
It's literally just what made me go into medicine. Yeah.
So from a young age, was it that you noticed that you was a bit more caring for certain people than others, or how did you know you wanted to actually do medicine?
You know what? I just didn't know. I can't remember the time where I thought oh, I want to do medicine, I want to be a doctor. It was just always in my head that I wanted to be a doctor.
You just knew.
Yeah, I just knew. My dad was a doctor as well, so it was just like looking up to him, and it was just from that.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay. So your dad's a doctor. Is there anybody else in your family that's in the medical field?
No, it was just
Okay.
like.
So when you told him that you wanted to be a doctor, how did he act?
He didn't really recommend it. It's a lot of hard work.
Really?
It's a lot of hard work.
Oh wow. It's good he was honest.
Yeah. Well, I in particular wanted to be a surgeon, and he was just like, it's not, it's just too, it's a lot of hard work. But yeah, I mean, my family was supportive with it at the end of the day.
And is he still like encouraging you now and supportive?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's supportive. Obviously, my family, like they're all proud. But yeah.
Okay, awesome. Dr. Joyce, we've got Claire and your other friend. Oh, hi.
my auntie.
Saying so proud of you.
I know, it's so cute.
So let's ask you, Dr. Devan, as well. How did you get into medicine, and why medicine?
So I didn't realize I wanted to do medicine until about 15, and I always used to say.
That's not young.
In the decision process, it's actually quite late, I think. But I always used to say, oh, I would never do medicine because I don't like the sight of blood. I would never do medicine because I can't be around a dead body or whatever, the cadavers and anatomy. Cadavers is when you do dissection.
Oh, right, okay.
So I always kind of ruled it out in my mind. I was more artsy. I loved writing. I loved English. And then I got to GCSE stage, and I actually just realized that I could find all of my passions in medicine. Like there was no reason why I couldn't be all I wanted to be within and do medicine. Because I loved science as well, and I loved people, and I didn't want to be in a lab. Right. So I just felt like it combined everything for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Dr. Jacob.
Why medicine? Why medicine? I think similar to Divine, I love people, and similar to what Dr. Sarah was saying earlier, in that, wanting to care for people. I think for me personally, it was a combination of the fact that I grew up in a household so my mum's a science technician, so she loves chemistry, and my dad's a chaplain. So it was almost a chaplain is someone who works in a hospital, and provides more like spiritual care for patients. So it means that they're there for like more pastoral care.
Really?
So yeah.
So that's actually a thing in a hospital?
It's a thing, yeah. It's a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So it was a combination of that too, in that a doctor is that combination of someone who provides like pastoral care for a patient, but also has to have technical knowledge
as well.
And I found that I was able to get like the benefits of both of their careers in pursuing medicine. So.
Okay. So did you kind of see what your parents were doing and think, okay, I think I want to go into the medicine field as well?
Exactly.
Okay. Is there anyone else in your family that's
No, I'm the first.
Yeah. So none of your siblings are in the...
My big sister actually, she's biomedical scientist.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah, so I'm the first person to pursue like becoming a doctor.
That's so cool.
So yeah.
Are your parents really proud?
I think so. I hope so.
I can imagine. That's really cool. Thank you. Dr. Joyce, why medicine?
I feel like that question is so for me in particular, like I always say, again, cliche, but like I feel like I've always said I want to do medicine, and I can't, like I'm looking for the person who either puts it in my head, I can't remember, but all I've known is that every time I've thought about what I'd want to do, it's been medicine. And I think actually it's more related to the pediatrician I had, who I saw more as like an auntie or a GP.
Sorry, a pediatrician is...
So it's someone that takes care of children.
Right.
So it's a doctor that takes care of children. And for some reason, every time I was unwell or not feel like literally even if it was a cold or stomach ache, I was so comfortable going to her. And I don't know if that's because I related to her because I was like, okay, I see you all the time. I've known you for how long? Or the fact that I just really felt comfortable with knowing that I would go there and I would feel better. And so so I think that's where the medicine thing got in. And then, like I know you said at 15 you found out, but you're looking for things to almost say why I shouldn't do, and there was just nothing pointing me away from medicine. I love people. I like being able to make an impact, even if it's on that small scale. I mean, there's so much more we can do with medicine now as well. And then being from Nigeria, I was just like, there's so much that, like I've seen like what hospitals look like, and I'm just like, there's so much impact I want to be able to make, and medicine is a way for me to do it. That's great. Those are like one of the, but again, it's so cliche because it's such a hard question. Like, why do you want to do medicine? I'm like, I don't know, there's so many reasons. But that's basically it.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So I want to...
Yes, they're F1.
Oh.
Oh my god.
So tell us about your studies. I want to know like the hardest things that you guys really struggled with in med school.
Yeah.
What did you really struggle with? What did you love? And what advice would you give to any students that are kind of in your position as well? That's for any of you can.
I think one of the hardest bits is being socially isolated, and especially during the pandemic, where if you was put in a city or an area during a lockdown, then you had that additional barrier. So I was in another area for basically a whole year. And I didn't know anyone there. I didn't, none of my friends were there. Nor could you travel during the lockdown. So I think that was part of like the main challenge you will face.
So how did you like deal with that? You was in a strange city with no family, no friends.
Yeah.
And you're studying, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How did you deal with that mentally?
I think how you deal with that mentally is making sure you find community in different ways. So even if it is, just virtually, communing with friends. Zoom was my buddy. That was my friend, literally.
It's all about buddies.
Yeah, so I think, friends who were there like morning, evening,
Did you
FaceTime.
sneak anyone down?
No.
Oh,
It was just because it was quite far as well.
That's really good of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're on Zoom a lot.
I was on Zoom a lot. Yeah, Zoom a lot. So that's what gets you through, being in community, and it doesn't necessarily have to be medics. A lot of my friends aren't medics, but they're like my greatest source of support.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Okay. And what's something you loved about the studying as well?
I think it's the little things when you do something for a patient and then you get a little bit of insight into what it will be like to be a doctor. Even if it's like taking bloods or putting in a line as to which you can put fluids or drugs.
That's called a
cannula. Yeah. I didn't want to say
cannula. Come on.
Basically, I'm gonna tell this story and I'm gonna finish the story. So basically, on our TikTok page, we had a paramedics edition 2 weeks ago, and he made a TikTok for me and he put that word in it, and I was like, oh, what is it? And I googled it, and I was like, so I know what it is.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. And yourself, Dr. Devan, what was the hardest and the best thing about your studies? Can I just ask, how long were you guys studying for? Was it 4 years?
5, but I did a master's, so 6 in total.
Why did you do a master's? Sorry, Dr. Devan, I cut you off.
No. I was just saying 6 as well.
Jeez.
Yeah. Similar reason, I guess. Just wanting to further study and explore another area.
So would you have had the chance to do your master's after your F1 year? So like you go into the hospital and then you can decide to carry on with the master's? Well,
so I don't know about the masters, but with UCL, the course is a 6-year course because we do a BSc compulsory in 3rd year.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
But I think you can do a masters in after F1. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I cut you off. The original question was, what was the hardest thing about studying and the thing that you found a bit easier?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, I have a lot of passions, and I think I was determined to excel in medicine, but to not let medicine consume my life in such a way that it kind of killed the other passions I had. So I really fought for that. I really fought to kind of be a well-rounded person, maintain all my other passions. And it was hard. It was hard.
Because I heard some stories about the long days at work. So how did you kind of maneuver around that?
I just did my best. A lot of being planned, being organized, understanding different priorities in different seasons. So realistically, you've got to put your passion down in, when it's exam time. You have to know kind of how to shift and change your life according to the seasons. But
Love that answer. And our F2s. Tell us about your studies, how you found studying. Did you guys study for 6 years as well?
Yeah. So me and Joyce actually did the same thing. So we did 5-year medicine course, but in between we did a intercalated BSc of management at Imperial.
What is that?
So intercalation basically is just an extra. So med school gives you an extra year to explore other interests that you would like to. Most times you're able to do other science. I guess normally it's more science degrees, more I don't know how to say public health, things like that. But interestingly, like in the last couple of years, you're introducing more things, such as like what we did in terms of business management, so healthcare management. So it's management with a focus in healthcare, so healthcare systems, hospitals, things like that. Like he did health policy. That's again not very medicine related, but it's healthcare related.
Yeah.
So you have that year to be able you're able to explore a totally different topic. So we both did that degree in business school, which was quite interesting and quite nice actually for a medical student going to a totally different environment, totally different sets of skills and knowledge and exams. Yeah.
So what was your favourite thing about studying, if there was any good thing?
For the 6 years or for that year?
Yeah, 6 years. 6 years. Good
From
and bad.
good. So the good thing about studying the whole year is that from the beginning, with especially with my course, is that you're meeting different types of people. I think what I like about medicine is that it doesn't matter it doesn't matter who that person is. Like you are meeting different people from different backgrounds, and you're having really great experiences and conversations, and that's why I've even learned from. That's my most favorite thing about medicine, like in general. Meeting new people, speaking to them, learning new things literally every single day. So that's what I liked. And I love the fact that with med school, because you're there for 5 years, you build amazing relationships. Like I've had my friends I picked up in, like I said picked up. My friends I made in medical school, I will have them forever. Because they took you, no one understands more than they do. When you're stressed, it's like everybody says, you'll get through it now. You always do this. It's like, they understand what the stress, I don't know, they just get you. And that's exactly how I felt in F1 as well, with the people that I met there as well. So best things are the people, patients or colleagues. The stressful thing is that, again, it's a lot of sacrifice. And when you're making your decision at 15, 16, 13, 12, whenever we make that decision, you have no idea. Like I'm learning every day that, oh, this is different. That's what life is about. Like there's so much you learn how to, from first year, like you're not like, you're always in hospital, you're 9 to 5, 24, like you're there Monday to Friday. You have to learn early how to prioritize things. You have to learn early how to organize. You have to learn early how to have a balanced life, which means you're going to be stressed, you're going to work in medicine, but actually it's important for you to learn how to balance having that friend and family. And so I think sometimes like it can get overwhelming where you feel like you can't balance it all. So sometimes it's great, but sometimes you're like struggling a bit.
Okay,
so that's just
thank you.
contrast.
Dr. Sarah, good and bad things about studying.
About studying.
Yeah, your 6 years.
My 6 years. So actually, I found the first few years of medicine, I just really didn't enjoy at all. Like it just wasn't. I found that it just wasn't my thing, and I was like, I don't want to do this. But let me do a BS, like an integrated BSc in management, and see how things go from there. I really enjoyed that year, and then when I did my last 2 years of clinical work, like just all clinical work, I really started to enjoy that.
Sorry, what's clinical work?
So it's just being in the hospital, being on placement, like essentially just learning how to be a doctor, like studying on the placement, on the wards, etc. in clinic.
So kind of learning as you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, shadowing doctors. And from then on, that's when I really started to enjoy medicine. I was like, oh, I can actually imagine, like continuing to do this. Whereas the first couple of years where it's a lot of just lectures and just lot more just chemistry, science, biology things, it wasn't really my forte, like my thing, not my forte. It just wasn't, I didn't really enjoy it. And then when I started to enjoy it, that's where I just really enjoyed being in the hospital, being in the wards.
So anyone who might be give yourself time. So as Sarah said, she didn't enjoy it straight away. So I would say give yourself
definitely.
So that's a really good point.
Definitely.
Just reminding everybody online to make sure you give us a thumbs up as you're watching and send your questions in as well. I want to open the floor to you guys to actually ask the F2s some questions. I know you had some questions as well, so I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to ask them anything, and then I'll go back to asking you guys questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fab. So I'm ready to ask you guys some questions. I guess my first question for you guys is, how did you find F1?
I loved F1, and I know you hear like a lot of different things. It's daunting. It's just a lot of hard work. But at the end of the day, I really, really enjoyed my F1 year. Since the beginning of medical school till now, my F1 year was my favorite year. I made so many good friends. You just learn how to become a doctor. I don't know how it happened that I just became confident in being a doctor, but it just naturally happens. And it's so daunting at first, but then once you get into it, once you get to know your teams, once you get to the flow, it was a great experience for me. I really enjoyed F1. How did you find it?
I would say like similar, right? So I think when I was in your position right now, when it's time to like shadow, and I was so scared. So you go from like the graduation feel of like, yes, I'm a doctor. For the whole week, you're like, Dr. Joyce, yes. And then all of a sudden, you get into hospital where they call you doctor, and you're like, no. It's like, it's too early.
Don't ask me.
Don't ask me. Okay. You're like, a bit stressed about it. So I think in the beginning, you're quite, everything's new. The environment is new. The people are new. Everyone knows you're new. So they also know to be very aware of you, which is great. You feel like you have so much responsibility. You feel like you have so much knowledge you're going to have to use immediately. But what I found is that actually medicine is very practical. And so when you go in, it's actually the admin things you need to learn. How do I find my way around the hospital? Who do I go for certain things? Who's the nurse in charge? Who do I need to be on their good side? It's like all those little things. I was like, that's what makes everything easier. So once I started figuring like all of that out, I told you I met amazing girls that was like, not only girls, boys as well. Amazing friends that support you during that time. And you'll find like, when I was in med school, I was maybe that person that would go to placements, and although I'm quite outgoing, in placements I'll be like, I'll do my thing, but lunchtime I just want to like watch my Netflix and eat my lunch. But actually what I realized is that when you're in hospital, especially in the next few, you don't have to be the most outgoing, but have those conversations, make those friends, because really you guys help each other out. When you're not sure, it's your other F1 that would help you out. It's your other F1 that would make you go, okay, let's go together and ask together. Okay, let's go and do this cannula together since you found it difficult. And so once I had that support, I thought it went well. But of course we had COVID. I'm not going to lie, like COVID kind of like twisted everything around. So I had 6 months of okay, getting used to things, knowing that I would work hard if I can travel. I would work hard if I had the weekend. And I think what now happened is that you then switches over where you're like, okay, I can only be here. Like, this is where I am supposed to be. So I think that mindset also changes, where you rely a lot on your colleagues, but also there's a lot going on within the hospital. It got a bit scary before everyone knew what was going on. So I think now what's great is that you guys are so aware of COVID. You've experienced it as medical students, or are just like sitting at home and understanding what's going on. So it will be a bit less daunting going into it. So when they say you're going to ICU, you're like, okay, fine, but I know if I wear my mask and this, it will actually protect me. Before we didn't know. So I think I went through the middle stage of F1, just kind of a bit like, what's going on? There's something got COVID coming on. And I think that was a bit, but again, thank God for the people I met, because we just all just did it together. We're like, we're supposed to be in, we'll be in, but we like work together. But yeah, so I found it great, but of course, COVID came, and the perception I had of F1 kind of changed a little bit. But then it came back. It made sense.
Like Dr. Joyce said, I would definitely put in effort into making friends with your colleagues. Like, I would enjoy going to work just for the coffee breaks that we would have after our ward rounds. Like, it would just make my day, or the afternoon coffee breaks that we would have, and the little chats that we would have in between.
Oh my God.
Definitely.
I used to go to work like, even now I'm like, oh my God, this person's working today. I'm going, and it's not like you go to work because you're going to work to like your patients and everything, but there's nothing extra, there's nothing better than knowing that your friends are there to support you, even if it's just 30 minutes you have in the whole day, or like 15 minutes, just like hey guys, like it's just so nice. So I would definitely make an effort. Yeah.
Loads of questions on your phone.
I came prepared. No, I've got it in my head. Don't worry. My first question would be, what was your priority, or what were your priorities going into FY1? And looking back now, what should they have been?
My one and only priority at the time when I was at your stage was just getting through my first week of F1, getting just through my F1 year, because it was just so daunting at the time. But really, like, looking back at it, I think your priority should just be how to prioritize actually. Prioritize when you're on call. So being on call is kind of when you're when you're one of a group of doctors who look after the hospital or your particular department, out of hours, for example, during the night, during the weekend, in the evenings. Knowing how to prioritize sick patients, knowing how to ask for help and when to ask for help. And really, I think that was, looking back, to be honest, it is what I learned from out of F1, is how to prioritize that, and how to know that a patient is sick, and what kind of help you need and who to ask for help. That is definitely one of the priorities you should have. And really, actually, to be honest, it's how to be an organized F1. A lot of the team actually depends on you to make things happen. To have a ward round list prepped in the morning, to know which patients you're going to see on the ward round. Your consultants will look to you. They will want you to know so that you can guide them. So it's just really like being organized and knowing what's in store for the day.
I've just touched on that. Say you guys aren't naturally organized. How do you become organized? Because you guys have said this word so much, and it sounds like it's something that's crucial. How would you tell them to do? They need notebooks? Like, what do they do?
To be honest, like with medicine, everything's lists, right? So if you come in the morning and you know you're supposed to get, the thing about it is that by the time you come in F1 or F2, they've prepped you for med school. You know, you have sign-offs, you know exactly how many things you're supposed to sign off, you know the type of jobs you're going to have for that day. So for me, for example, if you're saying, how do I get organized in a day, is to, okay, I have a list of, I go through all the patients, write a list of things down, and then you're going through each one, you're ticking off as you go along. Like, I nothing more than basically to start off with lists. And then from there, as Sarah said, I won't talk about the clinical side because she's literally covered that, right? When I was in an F1, I was thinking, I need to just be a good doctor. Like the first 4 months, I wasn't trying to be an all-rounder. I just wanted to focus on like, what do I need to know? Who do I need to ask for help? How do I need to maneuver my way around this hospital? How do I make sure my patients are all safe? That's the clinical side of things. But I actually genuinely did not think about prioritizing myself a lot in the first instance, right? Because at that point, you're taught patients are the first thing. Like hospital, my work is the first thing. And then COVID comes and you realize that you're the first thing. And then everything else can happen, right? So what I would say now, because there are points where in the beginning, I was like prioritizing clinical stuff, fine, it made sense. And actually it worked perfectly. I didn't even need to think about myself too much because I had that balance. And then COVID then came in and it was all confusing, right? And then I was just like, work, because that's all everyone was doing. What I realized is that then I didn't think too much about, it then caught up with me, right? I didn't think too much about taking care of myself and prioritizing myself and how I was feeling and if I was tired and if I was stressed. And I think it's very easy to pick up on when you're starting to feel stressed and pull back a little bit and speak to someone about it. So what I would say in terms of what I wish we all spoke about early on, or someone just told me about, just say, take care of yourself. It may be as simple as me saying it, but you will know when you need that. You'll know when you're like, now I know what Joyce was saying. Like, at this point, I need to like just sit back and prioritize that. So that's one thing I'll probably, in addition to what like Sarah said.
So say you guys, hopefully you don't, say they was to feel maybe a bit overwhelmed or a bit stressed. What would you suggest they do? Do they just sit in the coffee room or?
No, so first of all, like you have people that are there to literally make sure you're okay. And when you go in first, you think everything is just clinical supervisor. I have a consultant that is in charge of me, but they are literally there to make sure you're okay. So you start with a clinical supervisor first of all. If they're not great and you don't feel like you relate to them, then there are other people, within the education department that again are there to support you and to make sure the foundation program is doing what it's meant to do. Okay, so you go to them next, and if they're not there, you always have more how do you call it, more emotional support within the hospital, right? So you have like access to like therapists and psychotherapists and things like that would just for people to talk to. You'll find that you sometimes just need to talk and then just leave it with someone. Again, family and friends are a great way to like express yourself. But within the hospital, if it's something clinical and that you need support with, your clinical supervisor is there, your educational supervisor is there. And if you don't think that they're doing their job right, or they're not as helpful as you think, then you go to the foundation, like educational team, who will be able to give you the right person, and you'll always find someone that wants to make sure that you're fine. Yeah, like literally do not ever suffer in silence. Like they have been through the same thing. No, they've literally been through the same thing, and they know it's stressful and it's daunting, and of course you have access to both of us no matter what, but like literally don't ever suffer in silence. Like so I would start with that, and then in terms of like if you need any emotional support or anything, there are things within hospital that help, there are apps that help, and obviously GP, family, friends, but just take it take it serious. It's okay if you're stressed and you're feeling overwhelmed, but ask for help.
For me, for example, I remember when I started A&E, and I was really scared. I was so anxious about being in resus, which is the most, for anyone who doesn't know what resus is, it's where the most sick patients, any trauma calls, any major injuries go to in A&E. And I was just so scared of being put as one of the doctors there. So I just went, I had a meeting with one of my clinical supervisors, and she was like, how's it going, etc., etc. And I was like, oh, I'm just so worried about this. Like, I'm so anxious. Like, don't put me there. Please don't make me go there. And she was like, no, you know what, I'm going to ask the rota coordinator to put you there when I'm doing the shift there, so we can do the shift together and see how it goes like that. And it was absolutely fine. There was nothing to be anxious about. And it just shows that how if you actually ask someone for help, you will get that help. And it just could be something as minor as that,
I literally had the same exact thing with A&E as well. And I was like, I was so scared of being in majors and resus. I was really, really scared. And actually what ended up happening is like every time I would come on, they would ask, okay, so today I'll put you on, and if anything, you come with me, okay?
Yeah.
And that way I was like, fine, I think I can do it. It's okay. Because I knew that there was support there. So there are literally always seniors to help. But if you don't ask for it, no one's going to help you. Don't try and be superwoman or superman.
Okay, so I'm just going to read a question from YouTube. I asked the F2s. I think this is the F1 that's asked. Rizata, do you recommend renting with other F1s or staying at home? If you guys did that, and if you guys are doing that.
It depends. I live at home.
I lived at home as well. The only time I didn't live at home was during COVID, was just because, some of my family members were vulnerable. And so I just lived twice during the peak times. I lived out. And it was a really, it wasn't really F1s, it was F2s and other doctors. But it was a really great experience. You get to come back at the end of the shifts, like talk about what you went through, etc., which sometimes your family members won't really understand or won't get the struggles. So it was a really good experience living out as well, but I didn't really have that whole year of living with F1s. So.
So I'm going to be moving out of my house, my mum and dad's house.
How are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling excited, you know. It will mean that you've got your own space. So I'm going to be in a house share. So I'll be sharing with like a couple other professionals as well. One of them's a GP.
Okay.
So
but none of them are F1s.
No. So for me, it just means that you still have the benefit of living with other professionals, and also you save a little bit more money in a house share as compared to having your own apartment. So.
Okay, awesome.
And in med school, lots of us actually live with people, right? So if you do that in F1, I guess it's still good if you can save some money.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm living alone, but I've done house shares before. Yeah, and I've lived with my friends before. It's been a wonderful experience.
So would you recommend it?
I think it's really it's a really personal question. It's up to you. It's up to what you want from the experience. I know that I'm living alone, but I've found and made loads of friends within the F1 cohort already. Okay. There's someone down the street, so so you can still have the social aspect and still live on your own if you're the introvert who likes to have their space. So
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So how have you guys made friends, if any, for the hospital that you're actually going to? Do you guys know anybody there yet, or?
No, I don't know anyone. That was actually one of my questions in terms of making So we would deflect it to the FTs in terms of how you guys went about making friends and especially if you moved to a different area.
I didn't know anyone as well when I started. I literally was just dumped in London. So I think initially, especially in the beginning when you start your inductions, everyone is in the same position. We're all looking at who's going to smile. Hey. Okay, she smiled at me, so maybe she wants to be my friend. It literally is like back to like primary school, secondary, that same feel you have in med school. It's the same thing there. So you'll find like you will see that everyone is trying to look for friends. So you will start talking, and they'll do little things where you're in groups for this training and that training, and you'll see who you get along with. And actually, funny enough, is that the people you hang out with in the first 3 days may not be the people that you're actually friends with later on. Like the friends I had, like that were like, oh, they're amazing in the middle of F1, because I did a rotation that was actually not in the hospital in the first my first rotation. I actually was doing what you're doing in January, in December, which was quite even more daunting because everyone had friends already. Everyone had their own groups. But again, I guess the thing is that you will be working with other people within your teams, so it'll just come natural. Yeah.
And Divine?
The hospital is one of the UCL DGHs. So a lot of UCL students go there.
What's a DCH?
DGH, District General.
DGH, did you say?
Yeah.
DGH, okay, sorry.
It's a District General Hospital.
Okay.
So a lot of UCL students go there. So I know a lot of people at F1, F2 level already there. So they've kind of been like my big sisters. They've kind of brought me in, been really lovely. And I've also met people already at F1. So
Awesome. So any more questions, guys, that you have for the F2s?
So I was going to ask in terms of, did you guys have to move around a lot in terms of, so we have rotations. So in each rotation, sometimes it differs between, you will go to a different hospital. So I know that
by yourself?
Yeah, so
there?
you'll be sent there by yourself. So I know some people can be quite anxious about, having to change every 4 months, whether that be social challenges. So I wanted to ask, what were the challenges you faced in terms of going through different rotations, and how did you overcome that?
I used to hate changing rotations.
It was the the absolute worst thing for me. I would just feel anxious for about a week before, but I don't know why I was so anxious, because everyone, at the end of the day, so many doctors are changing. It's every 4 months on that particular day. So many doctors are changing on that particular day. And everyone, it's just, at the end of the day, it's the same kind of, unless you're going on to A&E or GP, but if you're moving from a ward to a different ward, it's the same kind of principle. You, as an F1 or an F2, have the same duties to, have a list prepared, know the patients, know what jobs the patients need to have done, and just carrying out those jobs. It's still the same sort of principle. And just really getting to know I feel like the thing that helped me the most was getting to know the nurses and the nurses in charge, and where everything was, and how the nurses were, like, on each ward were amazing, and they can just really, really help you, especially with changing rotations. And it's also the information, like the clinical work is slightly different. Like you're not familiar with certain tests that patients require, or what they may or may not need, and the nurses just know everything, and you can just approach them for everything. So that's actually one of my biggest tips as well, is asking the nurses for help, because they will help you so much, and they have saved me so much. So
is about self-development. So how did you go about seeking to kind of do some self-development throughout your F1 or F2 years? I know that it can be hard to work at the same time as seeking kind of self-development outside of work.
Yeah, so in terms of self-development, you're thinking other things outside medicine, right, that you can get done, like audits and things like that, for example. Yeah. So personally, I think when you actually start F1, F2, you need to make a conscious effort, right? Because you're working 9 to 5, and then you go home and you just want to rest. So when I started, for example, they'll start with leadership. For me, you think about what you want to do, right? Things like leadership, management, quality improvement projects, audits. You'll have to take it off at some point. But sometimes you don't think about it until it's too late, like F2. So I would do as much as I can in F1. So in my head, I was like, F1, if I can get a role in doing something, that'll be great. If I can get an audit, that'll be fine. So when you start, for example, they'll look for F1 reps, F2 reps, or you have a medicine rep or something. So you put yourself out there. That way, it's integrated into work. and you're allowed to go for meetings because it's still part of work. It doesn't feel like an extra thing. It doesn't feel like you're taking yourself out of work and it's an extra pressure or anything like that. In terms of audits and quality improvement, every rotation, I mean, I may be goody, I probably, but just because I'd rather take it off early, I did it first. So most rotations when I start, I'm just like, I would like to get an audit. Who do I need to talk to? How do I go about this? So in the first month, they can figure out how it happens. And then by the second month, I'm already started doing an audit. And once you get 1 or 2 done, you only need 1 or something, but once you get 1 or 2 done, then you know you can rest in F2. Because I feel like F2 comes really fast and something like COVID comes and everything kind of goes all over the place. So I would take the opportunities. There'll be opportunities that would be presented to you when you start. So you may not have to even look too far. There'll be opportunities that will be presented to you in terms of leadership roles, in terms of being part of like the BMA and things, if that's what you're interested in. Now, don't do anything just for doing sake.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, it becomes a headache. And then you don't enjoy that, it's messing up work, and then everything is just a mess. Do what you actually want to do. If you like playing sports, for example, a leadership role is playing sports. You don't have to be a BMA rep. You can just be playing sports and be a part of the team, and you're able to write that off, like write that into something or develop that. So in terms of self-development, I did audits, but I just asked people in advance once I got to the rotation, who do I need to speak to, get all the information possible. In terms of like leadership roles, I took F1 rep and TNO rep and things like that because it's easy. You get to actually get feedback, and I'm the type of person that likes to spot problems. Let's solve it. Whether it gets solved, like that type of person anyway. So you do that, and then things outside medicine, because for me, I like healthcare, not just like being a doctor. You're just gonna have to do that in your free time and manage your time. So if you want to do an extra course or you want to do conferences, like there's also a budget to allow you to present in conferences and to attend conferences. So like use all of that now, because I'm talking to you, but I didn't have time to use any of that. Really, and I kind of regret it because you have study leave and all sorts.
Yeah.
So you have personal developments built into that program. But if you don't look, or if you ignore every email, you won't find those opportunities. But people will be looking for help. People will be looking for F1s to help out and F2s to help out. But F1 is a good year, especially because F2 you start doing exams and applying and thinking about what you want to do. So F1 is a good year to kind of like tick a few boxes. And,
Thank you. So I have another question, Sarah and Joyce. Can you tell these doctors just something that you guys weren't taught in med school that you think that they should know?
Well, tell us.
I think a really big one is how to speak to your colleagues, especially when you're referring to a certain specialty. Is just having that etiquette of referring to a specialty, introducing yourself, knowing what information they want and they require before you make that referral. For like on my very first day, I think it was, like one of the consultants was like, "Oh, can you get a report for this X-ray?" And I was like, "Okay, just let me call the radiologist." I was like, "Oh, hi, could I have a report for an X-ray, please?" And he was like, "I'll do it later," and put that on the phone, like just hang up the phone on me. And I was like, "Oh God," I was like really taken aback. And there was a registrar who was like sat next to me, one of the other doctors who was sat next to me. He was like, "Listen, I'm going to tell you how to speak to like when you speak to a specialty, how to speak to a specialty. Just to be like, hi, my name's Sarah. I'm one of the F1 doctors on the ward. I was hoping if you would be able to report this X-ray for me. It's just we have this clinical question in." Clinical question. I would just really appreciate your opinion. And then they're so much nicer when you're so polite and you have like that etiquette of referring to a specialty.
You have to be
like
nice.
literally you have to be nice. And when you're and when you're referring, for example, to like a microbiologist, they will want to know, and sometimes you don't know these things. Sometimes you're just told, "Oh, ask the microbiologist this question," and you've never seen this patient before, but it's on your job list. But you still need to know the information. Like they will want to know, for example, if this patient has spiked any fevers, what antibiotics they're on, if they have a catheter, if like all these little bits. So just be prepared and don't just be like, "Oh, I haven't seen the patient, so I don't know." Like just make the effort to know at least some information about the patient. I think that's something that just makes your whole life so much easier. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys. So I'm you guys questions, and then we're gonna wrap up because we've actually been talking for 51 minutes.
gosh.
Wow.
See, I told you, it goes so
It goes back up.
Okay, cool. So, what are you guys most looking forward to?
Oh,
The back.
I'm most looking forward to making a difference. I think that those moments when the patient says thank you, that you've made a difference.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Love that.
Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah, I really just love people and I really have a passion for people. I think medical school has just been about the knowledge, and I'm really just looking forward to mixing it all and just doing it in real life, in action, in play, working with people. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question. It's directed for you guys to maybe answer for them. So she's saying she loves people. When there's really rude and difficult patients, how will you act? How does she react and act or ask for help in that kind of situation? Because you can love a patient, but they can be so mean to you. So how?
The thing is that you'll find that most of your situations and encounters you have with patients will be amazing, and you just like you like people, and like you will be like, yeah, I know why I'm doing this. They appreciated it, whether or not they said it, right? But again, you're going to have a few patients that you're just like, I didn't come here for this.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this to me? And I think the best way again is just to maintain your own cool and just how you. At the end of the day, patients, they're people, right? In your head, as a doctor, you're going to be like, they're going through something. It's not my fault. It's more towards them. How can I still help or whatever? But if they're being extremely rude to you, it's also important to know when to step away from a situation, ask for help. And this is where you get consultants to come in and help, because they will defend you. You get the nurse in charge and they'll defend you, because I don't want you to also try, and I don't want you to put yourself in a situation where you can't then help yourself. It's getting like volatile, whatever, you can't help yourself. So I would just say, like, step out, ask for help, those sorts of stuff, but don't take it personal at all, because everyone is going through different things. And yeah.
So what are you guys most anxious about? You start on Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah.
3 days, guys.
Oh, well, we started shadowing already last week.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Nice. So what were you anxious about, and what are you most anxious about?
I think I just want to be a good doctor. I think that's what I was most anxious about. Just, you studied all this time, you do have confidence in yourself, but this is the real thing.
Right.
And it's just about making sure that everything you've prepared for kind of comes together and you're the best doctor that you can be.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed this panel.
Yeah.
Very informative. Thank you guys so much. I'm just going to quickly talk about the giveaway. If you guys can help me scroll up, please, just so I can read the giveaway details. You guys don't read it. Yeah, keep going up. Up a tiny bit more. Okay, cool. So we have a pampering giveaway. So I'll just tell you some of the contents of the actual giveaway. We have an amazing face steamer with a fluffy headband and blemish removers.
Wow.
You can enter.
Yeah. Skincare.
We've got loads of LV shampoo and conditioners, L'Oreal, loads of Lush cosmetics, and loads of face wipes and day creams and stuff like that. So if you can just scroll down a tiny bit, just so I can read it. Awesome, that's perfect. So the giveaway rules: you subscribe to the YouTube. Leave a comment on any video of your choice. You follow our Instagram, which is at We Are House of Medics, or Twitter account. You tag 3 of your friends and you repost on your Instagram story or retweet with the hashtag House of Medics giveaway. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me just read out our socials just in case you don't know. So, our website is houseofmedics.org. Our TikTok, our Insta, and our Twitter. Sorry, our TikTok and our Insta is We Are House of Medics. And our Twitter, LinkedIn is House of Medics, and our Facebook as well. If you haven't followed us in there, it's We Are House of Medics. Thank you guys again. It's been awesome. I will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.